Compressor limiters are volume functions. Their main purpose is to turn the volume down. Compressor limiters turn the volume down when the volume goes above a certain threshold. When the volume is below a certain threshold, the compressor limiter does nothing unless broken or cheap. The two main functions of a compressor limiter are: one, to get less noise on tape, a better signal-to-noise ratio. This is accomplished by compressing the signal on the way to the multitrack. And two, to stabilize the sound between the speakers. The first function, to get less hiss from tape, is the original reason that compressor limiters were first introduced into the studio. Let me explain it this way. Say I'm humming along at a low volume, then all of a sudden it gets really loud. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Wah! Well, the problem is, unless we turn down the fader, we're going to get distortion. And you can't have distortion. Get distortion, go to jail. So, you turn the volume down. But then, the low volume humming barely moves the needles on the tape player. And as you know, if the needles barely move, you hear as much tape noise as you do signal. It's called a bad signal-to-noise ratio, and it kind of sounds like shh. So, you turn down the peaks and then raise the overall volume above the noise on the tape, getting less hiss. The second function of a compressor limiter is to stabilize the image of the sound between the speakers. Check it out. When a bunch of sounds are bouncing up and down like VU meters, it can get to be extremely chaotic. But if we stabilize one of the sounds, it's easier to focus on it. Therefore, it seems more present just because our mind can focus on it. It's more stable. Now, if you stabilize all of the sounds in the mix, the whole mix will seem more present or clearer.
There are two main things that determine how much you compress. The more instruments and the more notes you have in a mix, the more you compress because the mix gets too chaotic or busy. The second thing that determines the amount of compression is the style of music. Certain types of music, such as pop, are commonly more compressed.
Now, after you stabilize the sound between the speakers, if you then turn up the overall volume, you can put the whole sound right in your face. This is commonly done in radio and TV commercials, which makes it sound louder, making it jump out and grab your attention. This might be annoying in radio and TV commercials, but it's great for a lead guitar or other lead instrument. If you want a lead sound right in your face, compress the hell out of it and turn it up. It also works when putting sounds in the background. The problem is that low volume sounds can easily be lost in the mix. They can be masked by other sounds in the mix, especially if the volume of the sound fluctuates. Let me demonstrate. If you have a sound in the background, sometimes you can't quite hear it that well, especially if it fades out. But then it comes back in sometimes, you hear the sound, and other times it goes out, the sound. But if you compress it, you can hear every word they're saying, even if you're whispering, and it never fades out. If you don't compress it, sometimes you really don't know what they're talking about. Other times, you really do know what they're talking about. So you see, if you have a low volume sound and you put it in the background, if you compress the hell out of it, you can set it down low and still never lose it in the mix. It's always there because it's stable. There are two main knobs on compressor limiters, commonly called threshold and ratio. Visuals are especially effective in explaining what threshold and ratio do. If volume is shown as a function of front to back, the sphere is bouncing back and forth like a VU meter. It will then come out and smash into the threshold and stop if it's a limiter. The difference between a compressor and a limiter is that a limiter stops the volume from getting any louder than the threshold itself. A compressor, on the other hand, allows the volume to get a bit louder based on a ratio or percentage. Check it out. If we set the ratio to 2 to 1, it will go this far. If we set the ratio to 10 to 1, it will only go this far past the threshold. A good starting point is to set the ratio to 4 to 1. This is so that it turns the volume down without squashing. A squash sound sounds like this. The truth of the matter is you can set the ratio wherever you like. But also true is the fact that most people who are just starting out can't hear the difference between ratio settings very well. Until you can tell, 4 to 1 is a good place to start. Now this is how you set the threshold. The thing is, you don't look at the threshold knob. Well, you have to look at it for a second in order to get your hand on it. Then you look at the gain reduction meters, which show how much the compressor is turning the volume down. You turn the threshold knob until you get a maximum of 6 dB of gain reduction, regardless of the ratio setting. For some instruments like lead guitar or screamer type vocals, you can set the maximum level at 10 dB of gain reduction. These are the levels you can set it at so that you turn the volume down some without squashing it. Once you hear compression really well, set it the way you want. Until then, try setting the ratio at 4 to 1 and setting the threshold for 6 dB of gain reduction.